Welcome to Biota.org Interviews. I'm Tom Barbalet, and today I have the privilege of talking with Ken Stauffer, whose Evolve project has reached version 4.6. Ken, for people not familiar with your work, can you please give some background on how you got interested in A-Life?
I got started in A-Life probably by accident. I wasn't really interested in biology. But one day in 1996, I read a book called The Blind Watchmaker, and it blew me away because he was so convincing in how he described cumulative selection that I was just really blown away, and I thought for sure that a computer implementation of evolution should be able to evolve smart creatures, really, is basically what it came down to. And my vision was to have something that would run unattended without me worrying about. And then periodically I would check in on it and, run something long-term, and I was sure that something would evolve that was kind of clever and stuff like that. So that was my main excitement, was when I read that book. And he also talks about some computer software. And so he kind of got me into that whole field of A-Life.
And you actually took that idea of Evolve and made it the name of your program. For people not familiar with Evolve, can you please give some background to it?
Okay, Evolve was the software I wrote in response to reading the book. The idea, basically at the time I was limited in what I could do. I had a Sun workstation, and I wasn't really good at graphics programming, three-dimensional stuff, so I wanted to just use a two-dimensional universe. And so Evolve is a two-dimensional grid in which you have squares, and each square in the grid is an organism or a cell, and it has an open-ended program, which is its genetic code, and its genetic code evolves. It's a full computer language, and the instructions that this program runs are things like move, reproduce, eat, grow, and that is basically what Evolve does. It gives you a GUI to watch things, how they work, but it's a pretty simple program. It lets you create new simulations and watch them evolve, basically.
Now, Evolve is in its fourth version. What have the version transitions included?
So I've been developing this for probably 10 years now. The first version had no GUI, which meant I had to run it on a Sun workstation and then dump snapshots to a text file. I then ran a Perl script, which would convert it to PostScript, which is a format for displaying graphics, and then I would look at the individual file. But that was very, very cumbersome, and then version 2 I kind of ported to a PC, and I had a graphical interface. And then version 3 I ported to Eiffel, which is another language. It's object-oriented. So basically those are the trends. And then the last version I ported to C, and I have much faster performance. I can simulate 3,000 organisms at a reasonable pace. So those are some of the trends that took place.
Now, whilst it's written in C, it has this kind of meta-language K-Forth. For people not familiar with K-Forth, can you give some background to it?
K-Forth is like fourth language, if you're familiar with that. And fourth is a stack-based programming language. It's very easy to parse. It's very easy to write a program that will execute it, run these programs. And it's pretty efficient. Fourth basically is postfix notation, which means if you're adding two numbers, you push the two numbers first, and then you apply the operator, like plus or times or whatever. And so K-Forth is a variant of fourth. It lends itself, because of its structure, it lends itself to mutations, because it's in a very simple format. And it also, as you manipulate it, as you mutate it, it doesn't break the syntax, because there's no real syntax in fourth. K4 for this version because it gives me a lot more power and it's easy to debug, and you can actually kind of write some good programs in it.
Now, I saw on your website that you are running 1 year of A-Life, which is now 29 days in. What is the 1 year of A-Life project?
It's probably my main goal that I've always wanted to do since I started this. But for one reason or another, things failed, or the simulator wasn't up to par. It wasn't stable enough to run for a year. So finally, and I also have a spare PC at home here. And so what I'm doing is I have a spare box, it's running Linux, and I have a version of the simulator running. So every day it uploads a new snapshot of the simulation. To day zero, the first day it started, there was just a blank simulation screen with one organism. And I just used a generic program I use for my testing. And now it's been running for, like you said, 30 days. And it's simulated 87 million steps. And there's been 4 billion births and 4 billion deaths. And so there's a lot of evolution that's occurred. And you can grab a snapshot anytime you want and see what the creatures are doing. And the real nice thing is I don't have to do anything now. I can just let it run. If I get diverted to some other interest, I know that there's something evolving. So this is what I've always wanted to have running. And I'm quite pleased with the current version of the software.
Is the evolution in the K4 scripts the main aim of the 1 year of A-Life project?
Yes, that is the main aim. If you actually look at the software, you'll notice it doesn't look very exciting. It's basically yellow squares on a grid. The real magic is if you double-click on one of the organisms and look at their program. And it's that genetic program that's evolving new behaviors. So a lot of other A-Life programs have a much prettier GUI, or at least a prettier environment. So Evolve is much simpler, but one of the advantages of that is I can simulate a lot of stuff with within modern processor capabilities. If you're simulating too much physics, then all your processing power is trying to make that work. Whereas my physics is basically, the same physics as tic-tac-toe would have. Very simple, grid-based analysis. So really the magic is hopefully after a year there'll be a really smart creature that moves around and looks at some other creatures, hunts them, tries to attack them. Whether that'll happen or not is unknown, but that's my goal.
Now, your documentation mentions Darwin bots. Do you think there's potential for collaboration between you and the Darwin bots developers?
Yes, I do. When I was putting up the documentation for this, I looked at Darwin bots and I noticed how many similarities that are between the two programs. And it's just, the reason for that is because an A-Life program pretty much has to follow the same kind of themes as everyone else. And so they had the same issues that I came across. For collaborating, one option is to adopt their model. They have also a two-dimensional model, but it's has a nicer physics. It's more. It has a nice. If you look at their program, you'll notice the objects move slower and more dynamically, whereas mine is more blocky and stepwise. So that's one option. Another option is for them to adopt some of my K4 as the underlying genetic language. I think that could improve some of their product. So there could be a lot of trade-offs.
What more would you like to see with the A-Life community?
More sample programs. More simulations. The thing that's quite frustrating is the documentation is kind of limited in some of them. I don't want to criticize anyone in particular, but I do try them out. But then I'm not sure. It's hard to know what the full potential of each product is. I don't know, and I wish there was, in not trying to, I think the idea of my 1 year of A-Life would be cool if there was some kind of website that was hosting that. I used to write chess programs, and there's chess servers out there that run constantly, and you can compete. You can run your chess program against another chess program, and they're always running sample games and rating them. So if there was some way to dynamically to have different people's programs running long-term sims on one constant website, that would be kind of cool.
There was a discussion probably 2 years ago with regards to exactly that project happening. And the difficulty with that initially was just getting a wide variety of A-Life developers to collaborate on an interface in terms of that you were comparing apples with apples, basically, because of the diversity of A-Life simulation. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess. What you say, that's why the chess system works so well, is because there's a commonality. No matter what chess program you write, at the final analysis, it comes down to, here's the board, what's the best move to make, right? That doesn't change, even if your chess program is radically different from someone else's. That commonality allows different algorithms to kind of participate. So I think A-Life needs that kind of framework, and I know that there's some products out there, Swarm and Breve, try to do that. So that would be one solution. I don't think you can ever get the same kind of consistency that you get with chess programs, though. Everyone's going to want to try out different things. So, like, I don't think you could ever have Darwin-bot organisms competing against someone else's organism, novo ape creatures in the same simulation. But at least you could have a common framework for running long-term sims somehow. I think that's doable.
Well, I can see either Darwin bots or Evolve kind of fighting over the fur of noble apes or something like that. I can see that there's potential for a wide variety of collaborations, but the idea of artificial life as AI in a simulated environment goes somewhat against the petri dish metaphors that are used by people such as yourself. Can you think of any way of resolving these issues?
You mean how A-Life and AI are kind of different but the same?
In some regard.
Yeah. I think A-Life is an example of AI, artificial intelligence. It's a more accessible form, and it's based on what we know about evolution. We don't know what goes on in the mind. At the same level, we know what goes on in biology for evolution. So when you build an evolution simulator, you know pretty much you're capturing the essence of Darwinism. But if you write a artificial intelligent program, you're not sure that's how the mind really works. You have some good hunches. So A-Life is very much, I think that's why there's so much A-Life hobbyists out there. It's an accessible form of AI. And I think it's a very legitimate form of AI. That's because it's all part of the genetic algorithms, genetic programming model.
So moving in that thought, do you think of artificial life as a science, a social science, or a pseudoscience?
I would have to say it's a pseudoscience, I suppose. I'm not one to say it needs it's a science, because it's a simulation of Darwinism. Darwinism is the science. A-Life is a modeling of it, and it should reveal truths about Darwinism, not so much about. It shouldn't be a science on its own. So that's kind of how I feel. Just like AI would be, is that a science, or is that telling us about how the mind works? I kind of feel like a brain surgeon wants, or a psychologist wants to know how the brain works, how the mind works. And AI can kind of help, but also AI wants to build algorithms totally independent of how the mind works. They just want to do smart things with computers. So, I don't know.
It's certainly a bigger question.
Yeah, it is.
Any final thoughts for the interview?
I think what you're doing is great, and I appreciate all the hard work you're doing getting these podcasts podcasts out, because I'm glad I found them, and it's been very motivating for me. And I hope to see a lot of cool things in the A-Life community in this year and the years to come. And it's been a very it's funny. I'll go on and off this hobby of mine, which is A-Life, and it starts out. I get excited about it for a few months, and then I drop off for a while. But no matter how many times I drop out of it, whenever I run some of my programs again, I get sucked right back into it. So it's a very, for me at least, A-Life is an extremely compelling kind of programming, and I don't know why. I guess I'm holding out hope of seeing cleverness evolve. That's kind of all I can describe it as.
Terrific, Ken. Many thanks for the opportunity to interview you.